It'll be okay. Then illa here is a harfun istithna'un. Istithna'un is an exception. Exception. It's a particle of exception. So we say it. And when we say it to the angels, usjudu. That's what we said. Usjudu, make prostration. Li Adam, to Adam, fasajadu, and they prostrated. And this fa here, let me say, also, meaning there's little time in between. The command is given to prostrate, and they prostrate with very little time in between. If it's why like up here, well, this is the nafum, but if it's a why and it's an atfum, then we don't know the time nor the sequence. The two things that's being connected, they could have been done at the same time, simultaneously, or one is done after the other, but we don't know if there's time in between, relatively speaking, or there's little time in between. But when you use fa, it's right away. There's no time in between. One thing is done, and then the next is done right away. So the command is given, then they did it right away. Fasajadu. See, it's little things like this will help us with the logic when we're reading Qur'an. See, they didn't question. Now, I'm not going to go into it, but they didn't question. The angels didn't question. Say, usjudu li Adam fasajadu. Right away. Illa, but there's an exception. Now, Iblis sa. Illa Iblis sa. So Iblis sa becomes mustathna. Mustathna is the noun of exception. We would say the noun of exception. And this noun is in a fatha, which makes it mansub or accusative. And it occurs, especially, I'm going to say at this point, so I'm going to say too much that may confuse you, if the thought that comes before it is complete. So when you say sajadu, it's a complete thought, meaning you masculine plural, make prostration. Then illa comes, Iblis ends in a fatha because we had a complete thought here. Illa Iblis. So they all prostrated. Except Iblis. That's the reading. Abba, it says, Abba, and this is fi'lun madin, a past tense verb. So we've had madin 1, 2, 3 times already. We've had madin 3 times. So by the end of the presentation, you should, if you can read Arabic now, you should know the word madin. You should know this word madin. When you come and learn the 5 sheets and you understand how you conjugate, then you'll begin to see the Arabic nomenclature that goes with the grammar. So abad is he refused. Abad, he refused. And the fa'il here, the doer, see there's nothing above this box, so therefore the doer is implied. And the implication is huwa, which is in the conjugation. And this fatha here is implied, but the ya is taking the place of the fatha. Therefore, the fatha is implied in this ya. Don't worry about what I just said too much. Don't get a headache over that. These type of things would be explained in the class. Where? Harfun atfun. Now this is the harfun atfun, meaning a conjunction. Istakbara. So the time period between him refusing and him istakbara, which is also Marden. Again, we see the word again, Marden. We say now that he became great, seeking greatness. So he refused and seeking greatness. So the why here, now let's go over it again. This why here could be, we have two acts here. One act is he refused. The other act is he saw greatness, seeking greatness. He saw greatness, to be big, arrogant. So this why is joining the two acts. He could have refused first, then he saw greatness. That could be the sequence. Or he could have refused and saw greatness at the same time. Or he could have saw greatness and then refused. The sequence could be one or the other. We're not sure. The why doesn't indicate. Let's put it that way. You would only, if you choose, then you would have to follow that logic. And in terms of the time, that there could be, it could be simultaneous, that he did it at the same time, or it could have been a very short time in between. He refused, then he became haughty right away. Or he refused, and there was time in between. A long time could have been in between him refusing and him becoming haughty. Because the why is not like the fact here. The why is, it doesn't indicate the time or the sequence. It just joins the two acts together. And then again, the fa'il is huwa, he, and the he is implied in the conjugation istakbara, and we can say here, istakbara is form 10. So we have a chart, a 10-form chart we go over, 10 forms of the verb and noun, and this will indicate that it's form 10, and 10 is to seek. And kabara is to be big or great. So you can see he's seeking greatness. Where? And harfun istitnaf. Now this way is not atfun. If it's an atfun, it's atfun istitnaf. It's a conjunction, but it's starting a new thought. It's starting a new thought, so it's not dealing with sequence and time. Kana is Marden. We would say fitlun Marden. He's treating kana as though it's a verb, fitlun Marden. One day we will have some talk about kana, and we have in other presentations, but I'm going to skip over that today. And then ismu kana, the noun of kana is implied in the conjugation of kana. So now I think I'm almost forced to talk about it for a minute here. That kana, you have two major schools of thought. And one says kana is a verb because it's conjugated like a verb. The other says, no, kana is a particle that's conjugated like a verb. And kana does not have a subject, it has a noun that accompanies it, and it has a predicate. In order to have a complete thought, we need a noun of kana and we need a predicate of kana. Instead of having a subject of kana and an object of kana, kana doesn't take an object. Kana has a predicate and a noun. So the ismu kana is within the conjugation of kana, which kana can be conjugated like a verb. So he was. You would say he was because he is implied. Men is harfun jar, which is a particle, preposition particle, and then we have al-kafirina The noun that follows is majrurun bihi. So we would say he was from the disbelievers. Or you could translate it, he was one of the disbelievers. He is from the disbelievers, or he is one of the disbelievers. And then, lastly, we have khabaru kana here, but there's no word above here. So it is telling us that it is mahdoof. This mean here is the abbreviation for mahdoof, meaning that it is dropped. The predicate of kana is dropped. So you would say he was such and such from the disbelievers. And then you can go back and see the context of what is being spoken of, and then you could put a word here in the context. You could sense the context where the word did not have to be said, but you can sense it. You'll find it throughout the Qur'an. That's one thing I like about this book. It shows you the grammatically word for word, the grammatical word for word, and you can see the ellipsis that occurs in the Qur'an. And the ellipsis is there as one of the features that cause you to pause and think with the Qur'an. Use your imagination. It opens up the mind. The Qur'an will open up the mind, open up your spirituality. The more and more you begin to think and use your imagination based upon what has been said. Now, let's look at the meanings here. So that's the first step. That's the first step, and I may take a little more time tonight, but I want to show the whole process. It may take some time, but I'm going to take some time and show the whole process. We're focusing in on the Qur'an. All of the Qur'an related. I will focus in on the Qur'an. Okay, now, the keywords, he has some keywords he has defined, and one of them is usjudu. Usjudu, he's saying here is usjudu, where we translated it as prostrate. Prostrate to Adam. Prostrate. So he says it's di'u or da'u jibhatakum ala al-ardi, meaning place your forehead upon the earth. He has defined prostrate is to place your forehead upon the earth. Now, what we're doing here, the purpose here in the Mali system is that we're learning now to use Arabic words, to define Arabic words. And this will give you a clearer understanding of the meaning of the Arabic words, and it give you a broader sense of thinking upon the Qur'an, because you begin to see antonyms, synonyms, so forth and so on in the Arabic. And what would happen is you'll begin to think in Arabic though you're speaking English. Some people will say you have to think in English and you can't think in Arabic. Yes, you can think in Arabic and express yourself in English, and the logic and the meaning and the feeling you are getting is from the Arabic text. The only problem you may have is that you may not be able to do it literally, because when you read it from Qur'an, it's so rich. The language is so rich and so broad, it may take extra words to express the meaning, what you're feeling and what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. Therefore, I call it reflection. We don't write translations, we write reflections, because we have to sit back and reflect on the verse and see how words pictures. We'll be given pictures in the wording and how words are used with other words, and they draw a picture or an idea in the mind. And you want to express that idea and those feelings, those emotions, that and sentiments that you're getting from the reading. So relax and write a reflection, don't try to write literal translations. And you will see how much you enjoy the Qur'an. Don't just try to follow what other people do, thinking you know what they did. And if you don't follow what they did, you're doing something that's not correct. But that's not true. So you want to reflect on it, these words and what's being said, and still not take anything out of its position in terms of its grammatical position that you have rearranged it. You try to stay to the grammatical position as you reflect upon what's being said, its meaning, its feelings, its emotions, its sentiments, ideas. As all of this is occurring from within, stay within the grammatical positions, the path that is given you for your thinking. Because there's a reason and a purpose that Allah revealed it the way He did. So when you say usjudu, you were saying that they placed their foreheads upon the earth. And then that's going to help us in our logic. Because it's in the earth. It's in the earth that we bring out the great treasures of knowledge and science. It's in the earth. So place your forehead in the earth. The Adamat, and we're looking at the tafsir, how we can arrange language in terms of how the feeling that we get and that we want to express. And this I would like to also say, and now I'm not just talking because you all are witnesses who are in the Mighty program, that all of us will read these same words, but we'll get a different feeling. We will not be the same. When we write a reflection, it will be similar, but no two people will write the same thing in terms of the reflection, in terms of the English. But yes, it will be simple based upon the wording. It will be similar based upon the wording, but it will not be the same. Because Allah has made us all different as the tips of our fingers, our fingerprints. He has made us different. So when you see different translations, don't be so quick to say this one is a good one, this one is a bad one. Just say they're different. Because naturally, this language, this revelation is something that's natural, and we're all naturally different. We don't all have to be the same. If you try to make us all the same in this religion, in this reading, if you try to make us all the same, have the same feelings, have the same sentiments, have the same ideas, you would take away from the beauty of this religion and the beauty of Allah creating the human being to be different. But yet, within the differences and diversities of the human being, we have the unity. How beautiful this book and this religion. Now, let's take the next word he does is istakbara. Istakbara, he defines it as ta'azama. Istakbara ta'azama. Now, let me just say something that I'm seeing here in this. Show you just how you could just start thinking from seeing the words here. Ta'azama. Because I'm speaking now from the structure of the words, not from the social use of the word, how the words may have been used socially. Because it's not my language. It's not my social interaction for me to know how these words were used socially, but how these words are used in the context of the Qur'an itself. So istakbara, we said, is form 10. But he defined it with ta'azama, and ta'azama is form 6. So form 10 here is to seek. Form 6 here is a mutual reciprocity. Mutual or reciprocity going on between two things, two entities. So here we would say, azama is also means to be great. So you have kabir and you have azim. We would say for both of them, they have the idea of greatness. But here is the idea, meaning that there is a relationship that's going back between either Iblis and Allah, the command. He's commanded to make sajda, and he refuses. Then istakbara. Istakbara, meaning that he's responding to the idea that he is to submit to Adam, to show the reciprocity between Iblis and Allah, that Iblis is refusing and he's seeking to be great. And this is in a reciprocal fashion, we could say. So we're getting a little bit under the skin of the language now when we're doing this. So then you would find some grammarians would say that form 10 is used like form 6. Form 10 would have the meaning of form 6, meaning that in his response and him going back and forth, and it is saying that the initiator is not known, perhaps he was like this all the time. Al-Kafirina, he is defining as al-munkirina wujuda Allahi. Now, in the richness of the language, al-munkirina, he is denying. He's rejecting out of ignorance, munkar, out of ignorance, with the ignorant behavior. He is rejecting or denying wujuda Allahi. Wujud is, we may say, the presence of Allah. But the wujud, I'm getting into the language now, and the ideas that come to mind, that all of this is going to come out in the reflection and the comment that I'm going to make in the end. This information that we're taking in. So the wujud is a very, this is a key word that Ibn Arabi speaks of. Now, everybody doesn't like Ibn Arabi. You mentioned Ibn Arabi, first thing, someone hollered, he was a Sufi. Not only was he a Sufi, some say he's the father of Sufi in that thought. But Ibn Arabi is a philosophical thinker. Most people, common people, cannot grasp him, and common people cannot understand him because they don't think. And they're not taught to think and reflect. But Ibn Arabi was one of the great thinkers in the history of Islam, Ibn Arabi. So this word wujud is a word that in his writing, he uses this word a lot in his writing. It's one of the central themes of his writing, is wujud. And the wujud is, I'm saying, it's the presence of Allah, but the common meaning of wujud comes from the idea of findings. Because now I'm just going to speak from the context now. And what I'm saying here is that when you place your forehead upon the earth, you go into the earth consciously. Your forehead is your conscious act. That you're going into the earth consciously, and there you have the findings. The science. Allah, and this is the theme that I've been carrying for about a month now, the idea of Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of all the systems of knowledge, all the sciences, which are systems of knowledge. Allah is the evolver. So we go consciously into the earth. We go consciously down into the earth, and there's more we're going to say on this. And that we find, our findings. That's how we speak scientifically, our findings. Our findings will put us in the presence of Allah. These are the findings of Allah. This is the knowledge and the science that Allah has hid in the earth. And it's plentiful, plentiful, plentiful. As I was giving in a presentation, that the sciences have evolved to a point today we just can't have one school that just houses all that's necessary for the study of science, of these sciences. It's too many of them. And specialize in a particular area. We have grown now that you can't have all of this in one place. So you may have to travel in search of knowledge. But the wujud, the findings, what we're finding in the sciences, if we read it and read it again, it will lead us to Allah, and we'll come in awe of the presence of Allah, not personally, but in His works. Yes, there's more could be said on this. A lot could be said on this. As I say, Ibn Arabi writes a lot about it. Wujud Allah. So he is one who denies the findings of Allah. He won't even attribute his findings to Allah, though Allah created the earth. And the logic that he finds in it, and the system that he gets from it, and the principles and ideas he gets from it, and the creation that he makes based upon those principles and ideas that he finds in what Allah has created. He denies the findings belong to Allah. He thinks he himself is istakbara. At that, he refuses istakbara. Then he seeks to be great by denying the findings of Allah. Now, that's just the first part. Now, what we're going to do, I will explain here. I'll explain it, and then I will show you the end product. We go to what we call Qur'an bil Qur'an. That's what we will go to next. Let's see if I can bring that up. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Qur'an bil Qur'an. What we're going to do now, we take the word usjudu and sajadu, they're both from the same, sajadu and usjudu. We're going to look in the Qur'an, and we're going to take some verses, and then we're going to look at the key words that are mentioned in the verses with the word usjudu. So we did usjudu. And from those key words, we're going to write a statement that defines usjudu conceptually. If we really want to know the conceptual idea of a word, we have to see how that word is used in sentences with other words. Then we'll give us an idea of the meaning of the word. So we're doing this with the Qur'an. See, everything we're doing is from the Qur'an. It's related to the Qur'an. We're not going outside. We're relating things to the Qur'an. And let's see what we have here. So the first verse we have is what is Qulna lil malaikati. This is the verse we're dealing with. Usjudu li Adama fasajadu illa iblisa aba wastakbara wa kana min al-kafirin. That's the verse we're dealing with. From this verse, we have highlighted usjudu and istakbara. Those are the two words that we have highlighted, that we're going to look at. So the first one is, Allah says, fasjudu lillahi wa'budu. So fasjudu, we have highlighted, is to make prostration to Allah. Wa'budu. So wa'budu, we could say arbitrarily, we'll pick this word here as the key word we underline, is going to help us define usjudu in the context. But when we take all the context, the words how they've been used in context, then it will give us the concept. So this is wa'budu is worship. Worship. So worship is a part of the conceptual idea of making prostration. Then we go to the next one. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu irka'u wasjudu wa'budu rabbakum waf'alu khayra la'allakum tuflihun. Okay? Now, here is the word usjudu. Surrounding this word are key words. So we take the key words that we have underlined, amanu. So amanu, we say, yeah, ayyuhalladhina amanu. All you who have accepted faith. So faith and belief is the conceptual idea of prostration. And irka'u, bowing, is in the conceptual idea of prostration, to bow. In fact, some bowing and sajda sometimes are used interchangeably. And we already said worship is, and now here, if alu khayra. If alu khayra, to do good. So to do good is associated in the conceptual idea of sajda, and tuflihun is success. We've written the idea of success being a conceptual idea of prostration, and also this word tuflihu is cultivate. You see, we can see the consistency in our thinking with this word cultivate, meaning that when you're putting your forehead upon the earth and begin to cultivate the earth, you're doing something good. You're doing good. You have to do good, not bad, in order for you to cultivate and have success cultivating, right? And you have to have faith in what you're doing. And faith meaning that you also worship. Worship Allah. All of this is part of the idea of the conceptual idea of usjudu. Just that act. The act of prostration has all of this in it. You see how the conceptual idea of usjudu. This is what we take the words here: worship, belief, bow, perform, good, and success. Perform is to do or perform, good, success. These ideas we have taken from the words here to just surrounding the word usjudu. And you see how I just put the idea together. Then we do istakbara. So summa, we say, summa adbara wa istakbara. Then he turned his back, you could say. He turned his back, wa istakbara, and he sought to be great. He became haughty. A lot of different one words we could say for istakbara. So to turn back is defining istakbara. To seek greatness is to turn back. Turn your back. Or turn back on something or reject something. It's like illa for the Aona and to Pharaoh where Malakihi and his leaders, his top leaders. Fastakbaru, thus they became haughty, seeking greatness. وَكَانَ قَوْمًا عَالِينَ, and they were a people عَالِينَ, they were high. They were high. But, the definition that was used here was arrogant. But they were high, mighty people. High. Alina. Seeking greatness. Now, well, I won't say it here. Let's continue to go. So Alina, high, arrogant is the word that we took for Alina. And the term back was the word that we used for Adbara. Okay? Now, and you don't have to stick to these one-word definitions of the Qur'an. Just take a word giving you the idea. All of this is helping us with the conceptual idea of istakbara. It's not a direct definition. But we put it all together, and then we have to reflect. Look at them, reflect, and think on it. And then the conceptual idea of istakbara comes out. Bala qad ja'atka ayati. However, our signs came to you, فَكَذَّبْتَ, and you rejected, lied, rejected. We had in them. You lied about them or rejected them. Or we said denied them. Any of these words will work. But istakbarta, and you became haughty. وَكُنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ, and you were one of the kafirin. So again, we already had kafirin in the original verse, but we can use it again with disbelief, and we use فَكَذَّبْتَ for deny. So we just put the idea deny and disbelief. So you can see now we're building the conceptual idea of istakbara by turning your back, refusing, denying, disbelieving, and arrogance. You see, these are the ideas. I'm sure you see what I'm saying. Istakbara huwa in the last one. Istakbara huwa wa junuduhu fil ardi. So he and his host, he and his company, istakbara were haughty, fil ardi, in the earth. The guide al-haq is an underlying idea. Where dhannu, we could have put dhannu, annahum ilayna la turja'un. So we could have put dhannu. Dhannu is they thought, like they had an opinion. Dhannu is to think with an opinion. And sometimes this opinion is sinful. To always have opinion, my opinion, my opinion. This is an idea of Iblis, who has knowledge. Yes, we're going to find he has knowledge. He can think. He has an opinion, but he wants to have an opinion regardless of what Allah has said. Dhannu. Sometimes your opinion can be correct. And it's not whether it's correct or not. You're just opinionated without reflecting on what Allah has to say. We have many people like this. And some even have the opinion, I don't have to reflect upon what Allah says. I can do without it. And you tell Adam, you can do without it too. Don't you know you can think for yourself and by yourself? So in Istakbara, we have Bigaid al-Haq. Bigaid al-Haq, and many times if we have a possessive case, sometimes we'll put the word together. Because we have the possessive construct, we get an idea from the two words. So Bigaid al-Haq. So without truth. We put here without truth. So giving us an idea of Istakbara is someone who's acting without truth. Because why? Because dhannu. Because they just use opinion. They're not using truth in reality. It's just opinion. So you can see how we can even put this word to give us the conceptual idea of istakbara. And then la turja'una, that they will not be returned. They will not be returned. And then we put this in the conceptual idea of the whole conceptual idea that the returning is that we come from. Like we say this, surely we belong to Allah. Some say we come from Allah. But we belong to Allah, and we're going to be returning to Allah. And one of the pathways of returning to Allah is putting our forehead, our conscious act into the earth and studying the works of Allah. And by studying the works of Allah, it will lead us back to Allah. But here, because of their being so opinionated, without truth, disbelieving, lying, rejecting the Allah's sign, and turning their backs and riding high in a society, they will not be returned, and they don't even believe they will be returned. Because of what? Istakbara. All of this is talking about istakbara. So I hope you see what we're saying here. And it's so beautiful. It makes me just, I'm not making this up. Now, I don't have the person's name, but I can reference books where people have discussed this science. We say a science of the Qur'an, how the Qur'an defines itself. The Qur'an says that. The Qur'an talks about the best tafsir of the Qur'an is the Qur'an itself. And that's what we're doing. We're understanding getting the conceptual or the comprehensive idea of the Qur'an by the Qur'an. Not going outside the Qur'an, by the Qur'an. As we become more comprehensive in its reading. Most Muslims throughout the world cannot read the Qur'an from its Arabic text with comprehension. Black, white, indifferent cannot read the Qur'an with comprehension. They can read it. Some can mimic the sounds. There's a story Imam W.D. Muhammad used to tell about this man who had this book. And I'm relaxing today. I'm going to relax and talk. I'm not looking at my clock. Many of you are at home. If you have somewhere to go, go ahead, come back, listen to the recording until I see one person left. I'm not going to talk that long, but if as long as there's one person, I'll continue to talk. And if everybody leaves, I'm still continue to talk because you go listen to the recording. So see, this technology is so beautiful now. If I was in the masjid and there was only one person, I might quit. Everybody leaving and you don't want to hear it, so I'll leave. I'll become disappointed and leave. But now I'm enjoying this myself. So if you leave, I'm not going to look at the clock. I'm not going to look at the numbers. So if you leave, I'm going to sit here and just enjoy this with myself. I used to have a cat, but my cat passed away, and it would just be me and the cat. Now it's just me. Okay. So he would tell the story. The story is the man who had this book. And the man, he couldn't read the book. So he goes to the first man, and he says, will you read this book for me? Or help me read this book, either way. And the man says, I cannot read it. I'm not a man of letters. Meaning that he can't read the letters. Like some of you look at Arabic, you look at it and say, oh, I can't read that. Because I'm not a man of Arabic letters. So he goes to the second man. He asked him to read the book. Evidently, this man could read letters, but he said, I cannot read the book because the book is, it's locked in signs, the symbols. So one man is unlettered. I'm giving a story. The other man is illiterate. He can read the words, and he can tell them what the words are saying, but he can't read the book because he doesn't know the conceptual idea that the words are given as they are put together in the book. Therefore, though he can read the words, we would say he's illiterate because he cannot read the book as a piece of literature. many of us are unlettered, and if we're lettered, we're illiterate when it comes to the Qur'an. We're illiterate when it comes to Scripture. But we can read the words. And many times, we read the words literal, with a literal meaning according to how those words are used in our social life. We apply that to the reading. And many times, we read it incorrectly without comprehension. And I'm saying across the board. This is across the board. You find many that cannot read the Qur'an with comprehension. Okay, so that's what we're learning, how to read the Qur'an with comprehension. And these are basic, understand what I'm saying now. What I'm showing, what I'm going over are basic rules. It's not advanced. This is basic rules for reading the Qur'an. Fundamental rules. Your first level of reading. Fundamental rules. Okay, now that's the second step in the Mali system. Then we graduate to the next step. And the next step, we're going to read the tafsir. Now, the purpose of reading the tafsir, the first purpose of the lesson in Mali is to learn how to read. Well, we gave the first lesson. The first lesson was in definitions. And that was to learn how to read the Qur'an by using in Arabic, and the method is by definition first, is to learn Arabic words, define Arabic words. And from there, we get meanings and ideas. Because when you read, don't read to quote. When you read books, read to get ideas. And by reading a lot, you begin to form a logic with your ideas. You don't read books to memorize what books say, what this one say, what that one say. You're reading to get ideas and logic from the writings, and you may not remember the writings. You may not remember where the writings, things you're saying, literally, you may not even remember where it comes from. So don't worry about reading to quote somebody. You might sit down, I may sit down and read 4 or 5 tafsirs on one verse. I can't remember each one that I read and what each one said and document it. That if I'm just in a conversation, I have to pull out the piece of paper and read each name and document what each one of them said. I can tell you some of it, but it takes so much away from what I'm trying to say that you won't even hear what I'm saying because I'm too busy dropping names on where I got it from. I'm not from that school of thinking. I'm from the school of thought that says it all goes back to Allah. And I'm reading what they have said, then I form something to say whether I use their words or not. And then I have to be responsible for what I say. If I say it, I can't tell you somebody else said it to pass on the responsibility. No, I'm responsible for whatever I carry in my head, and it comes out of my head. It doesn't matter who said it. I am responsible for it. If it's in your pockets and you carry it in your pockets, you're responsible for it. You can't get stopped by the police. Oh, it's in my pocket, but it don't belong to me. No. You're caught with possession, then you're going to be tried and judged because you're the one who's caught with possession. The same as knowledge. If you possess it, then you're going to be charged with it. You're responsible for what you possess in your head. If not, if it's something in your head and you're not sure about it and not clear about it, let it stay in your head if you don't want to be held responsible. That's the school that I'm from. Okay. Then, if you want to challenge if you want to take me to court and challenge, then I'll show you my sources, if that's what you want to see. But you would have to pay me, because that would be a lot of work. Okay. Took a little break here. Okay, now we're going to look at tafsir. So what we're going to do with the tafsir is what I said. We're not reading the tafsir to quote someone or we have allegiance to someone. We're reading the tafsir to see what someone else did with their brain. They have a brain. Let's see how they saw this verse. Let's see what ideas I can get from what they have written. That's the idea of reading tafsirs. But for the Mali class, the lesson is to learn how to read without marks, without vowel marks. Learn how to read without vowel marks, and learn how to read Arabic that's in reference to the Qur'an. So we deal with the Qur'an. Some methods teach Arabic, and they'll start you out with vocabulary and language that has nothing to do with the Qur'an, and give you a lot of rules of grammar that go with that language, and you have to try to transfer it all to the Qur'an. So we teach a different way. The Arabic that we're looking at is pointing to the Qur'an. It's all in reference to the Qur'an. So we expand our ideas and our reading of the Qur'an without allegiance, without having allegiance. You don't have to have allegiance to anyone. Okay, so in this tafsir here, we're going to read. I'm not going to even say who the tafsir is. I'm just going to say in this tafsir. And this tafsir here, it helps give you ideas about what it is being said or how to read the Qur'an clearly. You want to be clear on what the Qur'an is saying. That's the idea. It's nothing deep and heavy. It's what it's saying. And from that, we can extract from that what it means. And then we'll have a comment to make. So he says, Qala Ta'usu. So Ta'usu said, An Ibn Abbas, upon the authority of Ibn Abbas, Kana Iblisu Qabla and Yarkabu al-Ma'asiyata min al-Malaikati Ismuhu Azazil. Up to this point, we're saying Iblis was before he perpetrated deviance, disobedience. Min al-Malaikati, one of the angels. He was from the angels. Or we would say he was amongst the angels. This men could also say amongst. And we would find he was amongst the angels. Before, or he was one of the angels. Either way, the reading is either way. It's going to come out. Before he perpetrated, before he was exposed. And his name was Azazel. Now, like I say, these are tafsirs. You don't have to, just because it's written in Arabic, don't think it's right, and you have to agree or take it. وَكَانَ مِنْ سَكَانِ الْأَرْضِ, and he was one of the dwellers of the earth, you would say, in order for it to make sense. وَكَانَ مِنْ أَشَدِّ الْمَلَائِكَةِ, and he was one of the strongest of the angels. He was one of the strongest angels, you would say. Ijtihadan, in terms of ijtihad. And ijtihad here, I'm going to give the meaning of critical thinking. Critical thinking, to think on your own, the ability. The ability to think, and to think deep, and to think long, and to think with concentration. ijtihad. And it's to struggle and to strive in thinking, like I'm doing now. Now, I can do this for a while, but some may be listening to me, and they may not even have the fortitude to sit and listen, let alone give the presentation. This is ijtihad. So he had this. Wa aktharihim ilman. And he was more of them, he was greater than them in terms of ilman. Meaning he had greater knowledge than they did, and more knowledge. He was more knowledgeable than them, than the angels. So these are the two I've highlighted. These are two ideas and points that I got from the tafsir that goes with the logic that I can apply in the looking at the verse. That Iblis, ijtihadan wa ilman, is that critical thinking along with the sciences. Ilm is also science. Ilm is science. So he was plentiful in them. فَذَلِكَ دَعَاهُ إِلَّا الْكُبْرِ. Likewise, or thus we could say, it called him to al-kubri. Kabir istakbara. This word, same word istakbara, called him to greatness, haughtiness, big, having these two eight principles operating in him. وَكَانَ مِنْ حَيٍّ يَسْمُونَ جِنًّا. And he was from a life form named jinn. And in the Qur'an it says, إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ. That except Iblis, he was one of the jinn. So we're getting the idea here that Iblis was, we could say, one amongst the angels, or like one of the angels, posing as one of the angels, but he was from the jinn. And one day we have to talk in a little more detail about the jinn. Is that the jinn is those who have not fully developed. The jinn. And some jinn are very strong, except they're very strong. And jinn, they have ijtihad. And this jinn is ilman and ijtihad. But he's still a jinn, meaning that he's not fully developed. Now, I'm saying that to say, when I am reading, I'm going to say I, because maybe you are not reading with me, that when I'm reading this as not looking at this so literally, this whole idea, this scene. The scene here is with Allah, Adam, and Iblis. This scene I would call a scene that is mythology. Now, I'm not an apologist when I talk, but let's see if I have this up here. The last time I was somewhere. Nope, it's not here. Let me look here. Let me go here and look for educational purposes. Something I was looking at today. I'm showing you all of my secrets. So I'm looking here today, and we're getting this idea about Jesus, right? And so you all don't know, I can do this real fast. So I make comments. Sometimes I use a little humor, try to just relate to people, not to be deep and heavy all the time. But while I'm doing this, I am I'm very quickly I'm very quickly, sometimes you'll see me on Facebook, and I say things or I write things, what I'm doing very quickly, without giving details and all. And this one say this and that. I'm very quickly looking at the Qur'an and looking at tafsirs, depending on the time. Very quickly, I'm doing what I'm showing you now. I do this very quickly and take a look. And then I make comments, but not full-blown comments. Just to hang out with the people. You know, sometimes you have to just go see what the people are doing. The common people. Hang out with them a little while. And don't appear too much like a quack, and then they will duck. But it says here, so this is a sidebar, like, it says, وَلَمَّا دُرِبَ ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ مَثَلًا. This is what I want to show you, مَثَلًا. So it says, and when Duribat ibn Maryam, the son of Mary, was given, Duribat was struck. It strikes in the mind. Duribat, Darabat, strikes, not with your fist. It struck Methalan as a methalan. Listen to the word methalan, and listen to the word mythology. Methalan mythology. I'm just showing you that I'm not making something up. Methalan, it's an Arabic word. But mythology, methalan. So if I say the study of methalan, I would say ology means the study. Psychology, the study of the psyche. Sociology, the study of the social. Mythology, the study of methalan. The study of methalan. So it's saying here that Jesus, the son of Mary, was given as a mythology. That says a lot. That says enough. Now, I say it that way. Now, if you want to challenge me when I make the comment in English, you don't know I'm speaking from the Qur'an. I just make the comment. And I can start backing it up. But I just want to show you that. I want to show you that to say that Allah creates mythology. Allah He gives the best mythology. No one is better than Allah in using mythology. No one is better than Allah to use metaphors. No one is better than Allah to use figurative speech. So forth and so on. No one is better than Allah to use allegories, to have the deftness with the eloquence that will transcend to high horizons. No one is better than Allah. That's where they get it from. So if you want to be good in writing mythologies, you should study Allah. Because Allah is using mythology. And Allah takes from what we already know. Allah takes from our own history. Allah takes from His own creation. Allah takes from things that we know. And from that, He creates the mythology. But the problem is, we read it, taking it to be the reality, when really the mythology is pointing to the higher reality, or to the reality itself. Yes. And this, we're reading now, is mythology. Now I know, because of the separation of church and state, and all of this and that, I can't say that, and Brother Imam, mythology is a lie. Well, yes, mythology is a lie. Don't Allah say some of you are going to be guided, and some He calls astray? You know what? You know why it calls some of you astray? It is because you take the mythology to be real. And if you take the mythology to be real, this Qur'an will cause you to stray. Allah is not the purpose is not for you to stray, but you will be caused to stray because you can't read. You're illiterate. You can read the words, the letters, but you're illiterate. You can't read this, what we call scripture, in terms of its being a literature. Yes. I thought that I'd bring that out to you, and since everybody is making a big deal over Black Panther, it's a mythology. It's a mythology created by a man who may not be using scripture in his mythology, or maybe he did use scripture in his mythology. You have to know how to read mythology to see it. But many are trying to take it to be real. You want it to be real. And you're getting hung up on the mythology, and no one is interpreting the mythology. But I have to wait until my good friend, I can't say his name, I won't say his name, I have to wait till what he says, because he's good at watching movies and interpreting the mythology. That's not my thing. But what I will do is I'm going to listen to see what he says, and I'm going to follow him and get some ideas. See, I listen for ideas, I read for ideas. So, I'm known for taking some ideas from someone. I'm not like some people. Oh, he said that, so I can't see it. Oh, I take ideas from you in a minute and put it in with my ideas. So I wait for him. I like the way he showed the twists and the turns, and I always get something from him. I'm going to wait for my good friend to take a look, and I'll look for his comments. I don't go to movies to interpret movies. I just went to the movie. Back then, I went to the movie. I saw the movie. It was a good movie. It was good entertainment. I enjoyed the movie. When I left the movie there. I don't take movies home with me. I might get an idea out the movie or something, but I don't go there with a pencil and pad and take notes and dissect it and all of that. That's not my thing. I could, but I don't want to put my time in that. I put my time in doing this. But anyway, so this is mythology. Iblis, we're talking about something that's in the human being. The jinn is something that's in the human being. This is guidance for the human being. This Qur'an is guidance for the human being. And it's guidance on this side of the life. It's not on the other side of the life. So always keep your mind on this side of life when you read the Qur'an, and you have to think. Another way Allah calls us to think and use our imagination, use our intellect, think and think and think. Use our brains. So Iblis, we're talking about something that's in the individual creation, and we're talking about something that's in the humanity. Iblis is. It's a principle acting out. The jinn is a principle acting. It's acting out. It's about the human being. But the story is given in the sense of a mythology of Iblis and Adam, so forth and so on. Don't go somewhere in Africa where man originated, and you're going to dig up the earth and find the bones of Adam. Even if you did, that's not proof of this being literal. Allah is using it to create the mythology. It's still mythology, no matter how you slice the pie. It's mythology. So this is the jinn. So Iblis was one of the jinn in the mythology of man, meaning that he was not fully developed. The jinn are those who are not fully developed. Don't look for Arabian Nights type of jinn, wearing curled up pointed shoes and what have you. No, that's about as bad looking for Satan with a pitchfork and, I don't know, what he's supposed to have, pitchfork and pointed ears or something. Some of us think the jinn is like that too. That's kindergarten talk, kindergarten thinking. Okay, Iblis. So that's the mythology. What can that kafirin? So this part he's going to give the comment on. He's going to comment on, and he was one of the disbelievers. So Ya'ni min al-Asiyin, that he was one of Asiyin. Asiyin is defining kafirin. So we get a word defining another word, and this is the one who deviates. He's become disobedient. He goes back. We had that word, he turns back. see, these words can come back now that we have heard and used, that we can see how it goes in with the context of what we're saying here. That comes to mind. Because when I see these words in Arabic, sometimes 3, 4, 5 different words comes in. I know what it's saying, but sometimes I'm just sharing with you. I'm really taking a lot of time today to share with you things that I see the Arabic and have to say it in English real fast. So I have to think. I have to pause and start thinking. So the words don't come right away, always right away. Because as you can see, there are a lot of words. So it means afin. Call that Qatada fi qawlihi, and Qatada said in his saying, the Most High, and Allah saying the Most High. Qatada is saying, excuse me for 1 second here. Let me see. Okay. Qatada is saying here, in his saying, Allah the Most High is saying, "But if kulna lil malaikati usjudu li Adam." So this part of the Qur'an now, of the verse you read, he's going to comment. He says, "Fakanat, let me move this up. Okay. فَكَانَتْ الطَّاعَةُ لِلَّهِ وَسَجْدَةُ لِآدَمَ. He's saying that the obedience was, the obedience was to Allah. And the sajda was to Adam. We have here, I don't know if I put it in. So the obedience is to Allah. It's not to Adam. So the angels are not obeying Adam. It's not Adam that gives the angels commands. It's Allah that commands the angels, and the angels are being obedient to Allah. Though they're making sajda to Adam. So Adam, we could say, is the direction of the worship, but Adam is not the one that's being worshipped. The same as the Kaaba is our direction of worship when we make sajda, but the Kaaba is not the thing that we worship. So Adam becomes the Qibla for the angels. The Kaaba is the Qibla for mankind. So akrama Allahu Adama and asjada lahu al-malaikatuhu. It says Allah honored and made noble Adam in that his angels prostrated to him. So this gives Adam his nobility. Also, we know from the story. We know that Adam, the angels were not told to make sajda to Adam, until after Allah had formed him with the perfect symmetry and stood him up straight in the perfect symmetry, and then he blew into him of his inspiration. So Adam, he stands Adam up in his nature. He's standing Adam up in his nature, and then at that first, and then the revelation comes into Adam. And after, he said, and after I have blown into him of my spirit, that spirit is in the revelation. So he's given Adam revelation. And when Adam is inspired by God, he said to the angel, bow down to Adam, make prostration to Adam. And they made prostration, except Iblis. So the one who's given the inspiration. Well, let's see. Let me say that after we read. Let's read here what Iblis is going to say. Then I'll make the point, inshallah, if I remember. He says, "What call that ba'du an-nasi?" So some of the people said, "Kana hada sujuda tahiyatin wa salamin wa ikramin." Some says that this was the sujood, the prostration of greeting. The angel's greeting, was salamin, or peace, greeting and peace, and honor. These are all greetings. Peace, greetings, establishing or peace, like we say, assalamu alaikum, or we show honor in our greeting. These are forms of greeting or showing respect to Adam in terms of extending peace and in terms of showing honor to Adam. So that's what some of them are saying. But call that ba'duhum, and some of them said, bel, however, nevertheless, kanat as-sajdatu lillahi, that the sajda was to Allah. Wa Adamu qiblatun fihi, and Adam is a qibla in it. That's the same as I'm saying now, that, or as I just said, that he's making sajda to Allah. That the sajda is really to Allah in terms of the form of worship, and Adam is the qibla in the form of worship, in the sajda. Like we face the Kaaba in the sajda, we face the Kaaba, and the Kaaba is our qibla. Our qibla is the direction, the object in direction that we turn to in our prayer. That's what qibla is. I have to remind myself to explain these in case someone listening that doesn't know Arabic. I'm not familiar with these common words. These are common words to the Muslim who've been Muslim for a while, but we may have an audience. I have to remember we have an audience on Facebook, and some of them may not be Muslim. So I have to apologize for that. If I'm saying words you don't know, you're not familiar with, and I'm going too fast for you to pick them up. Okay. So, let's go on to, okay, we have some more here. Okay, so, what Qala Qatada, and Qatada said, fi qawlihi ta'ala, in his saying, the Most High, فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. Min hasada aduwullahi, the enemy of Allah, aduwullahi, the enemy of Allah, was jealous, envy. And the enemy of Allah, Iblis was jealous. Adam, towards Adam, alayhi salam, upon him the peace. Allah, upon what? Atahu Allahu min al-karamati. What? About or upon what Allah gave him of honor. How Allah has honored him by standing him straight up in his nature and inspiring him with revelation. And this put Adam in a place to be honored, making him the Khalifa of the earth. Yes. So what does he say? So he said, what Paul at, and anadi, I am from fire. What have that teeny, and this is from clay. So I am better than him. I'm from fire. Now, let's look at this. Let's look at this mythology here. That the one from clay, he's not worthy to be the king. Because clay is impressionable. Clay is an influential creature that people can influence him. But I'm fire. You better not touch me. I'm the king. You can't touch me. And I can break things down. I can take something and break it down to its most primary elements. I can take the science. I can take that tree and break it down and tell you all the primary elements that cause that tree to be a tree. I can tell you what puts spots on a leopard. I can break it down because I'm from fire. But this one, yes, you have inspired him. You have stood him up in his nature and inspired him, but he's impressionable. Listen, in the movie, you are too good to be the king. You're a good person. You can't be the king because you're a good person. I'm showing you the motif that they have borrowed from the Qur'an, from Scripture, and put the motif in the movie. One of the points in the movie. I don't do this. I'm just giving you an example. So the one who's from team, the one made of team, he's impressed. He's gonna be influenced. If he goes out and share what you have given him, they are taken from me. Because he's too good to be the king. Remember, don't share. Don't tell nobody it's here. The cup that we drinking from, the cup that we have drinking from, that I have drunk from, don't share it. Let's keep it ourselves. Because if you share it, they're going to come, find out where it's at, and take it from you, like they did Master Musa and his gold. Find out where Master Musa is coming from with that gold. And we're going to go down there in Ghana, and we're going to take that gold from them. Yes, that's the same motif. Plot, whatever you want to call it. Yes. But there's flaws. In mythology, there's flaws. But I won't get into that. I just want to show you a point here. This is the point of Iblis. We're talking about Iblis, not Black Panther. Iblis. That's what he's saying. Seeking to be big. But he's undisciplined. With fire. Fire is not discipline. It's undisciplined. And this fire, when we look at the human being, we're talking about his passions, his desires, his anger, is ruling in him. And this one over here, this clay here, you touch it and make it indent. Yes. There's more we're going to say about clay one day. But just showing you here. What Iblis is saying. But I said, well, we'll see. We'll see. What cannot better al-Dhunubi al-Kubri. He said, and it was the beginning of great sin. Istakbara adu wallahi and yasjuda li Adam alayhi salam. And the enemy of Allah really is the enemy of man. He can't deal with Allah. But he's the enemy in terms of Allah, meaning he's refusing Allah's way, Allah's command. Istakbara, meaning he sought to be big. Istakbara. He's refusing. He thinks with his own ijtihad. Now let's go back to our points now. I'm going to go back to my point. The point that I'm borrowing from here is in this principle and idea of ijtihad, of critical thinking, independent critical thinking with knowledge, with a lot of knowledge. In him having that, in his passion, his desire, uncontrollable passions and desires, so forth and so on, and seeking to be great. He's seeking to be greatness by rejecting what Allah has revealed and has given to his man. Don't we find that today? That we find people are saying, and I have to be critical, that you are a leader in religion. I'm just going to make it broad. You're a leader in religion, and Allah has revealed this Qur'an, and it has been preserved in its original language. It hasn't been taken out of its original language, and you don't have the curiosity to want to know what Allah is saying clearly with comprehension, but yet you want to claim greatness in your own being. You're claiming greatness, but you're refusing what Allah has ordered. And when you look and follow your home, you don't have anything but claiming greatness, calling yourself kings and queens, and don't own anything, don't have a kingdom, don't even have a block, don't even have a house, a good house. But you have to call each other kings and queens, make each other feel good. It's not about that. But all the time, in your nature, you're like Iblis, you're refusing and seeking greatness and not obeying and accepting what Allah has given. The Arabs were like that. A people who were boasting, had beautiful language, and could boast. The biggest boasters on earth with their language and had nothing. Produced nothing. Can't show nothing. But seeking greatness. Istakbara. Yes, you find people like that now. Pretending that they are running the world, ruling the world. That their voice is going to be heard throughout the world and they're going to change the world. But someone comes to them and say, let's take what Allah has revealed to us. Look what Allah has given us. Given his man, no, he's too good. You remember what Muhammad? Man, we ain't gonna bring him up till February. Ain't he that good guy? He was too good. He didn't talk all that black talk like we wanted him to talk. He wasn't istakbara. He wasn't boastful enough. He didn't make us feel big and great with ijtihad and fake science. Yes, same motif. Put it in the movie. Look at your own social life. It's there. You want to identify with it? It's there. I don't have to learn that. I don't have to learn that. I can read creation. I hear that all the time. Inviting to come and learn as supposed to be leaders in this religion. Let's come and learn like we've been instructed to learn to read this Qur'an for ourselves. Read it for ourselves. so we could think for ourselves. But I don't have to read Arabic. Trying Arabic, I can read creation. And you're not even a scientist. You're not even on your way to being a scientist. You just talking. It's Istakbara. Okay, enough of that. So, in the hadith, it says, لا يدخل الجنة الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال حبة. He would not enter the garden, the paradise, the garden. Who? The grain, the weight of the seed. Min khaladalin, of the mustard. The weight of the mustard seed. Min khubrin, from arrogance, just the weight of the mustard seed of arrogance was in his heart. Or is in his heart. It was in his heart and still is in his heart. Whoever has the weight of a mustard seed of arrogance in his heart, he will not enter the garden. And we're not talking on the other side. We're talking on this side. This side. So you won't make it with an ounce of arrogance. And what's the arrogance? What is the arrogance? Is the arrogance having knowledge? No. That's not it. The arrogance is in Abba was Istakbara. That first, he refused. Now we go to the logic. He refused first. Then or while he refusing, he's seeking greatness. He has knowledge. Yes. But he's refusing what Allah has given, what Allah has revealed. That many of us refuse it and don't know we refuse it. Because we wear labels. But when questioned, they refuse it. Okay, this is the second part. Ideas now. Just reading this, that the lesson is that we learn to read without the marks. So I'm reading it for you. I put it on the recording in the class for the class. That's how we start out. You go back and you listen to it, and then you read it. You listen to it, and you read. This is when the students they're staying now with the program. So they've learned the basic rules. They've learned how to read the nomenclature, the Arabic nomenclature. They're seeing how many of them are just learning how to use Qur'an, build Qur'an now. Now this is the last part. This is the last struggle of the program that we have put together with Mali. Is to learn to read the tafsir without the marks. So this is where they're at. So this is one of the classes. This is an assignment for one of the classes. So they'll come back to the class on the weekend and they'll read this to me, which they have already read most of it. They'll read it, we'll go over it, and then after this, we go, let's look and see what Imam W.D. Muhammad has said now. See, when you're made of clay, let me make this point of clay, because I'm here relaxing and I'm saying things and what have you. So let's kind of clear the air on something here, on a point here. I want to show you something here. I want to make this point. I'm not here to embarrass anyone or talk about anyone, what have you. So Iblis here he's saying, he says, "Ananari wahada tini." It's Iblis. But when you're clay, see, when you're made of clay, when you allow yourself, and this clay is that you've kept your innocence. See, to stand up straight, we're gonna read about it, but you've kept your innocence. That is saying that yes, you can be influenced. You can be impressed. Someone can impress you. You know, because you're impressionable. And when you're young, you can be very impressionable when you're young. And I was a young man, and I was very impressionable, and I allowed Imam W. Muhammad to impress my soul, to have an impression upon me. And when you have an impression, when someone impresses, something impresses you in your soul, you begin to speak. You learn to express what has been impressed upon your soul. But when you're expressing it in your own terms, in your own words, from your own education. You're expressing what has been impressed upon you. That's different from someone who's a parrot. A parrot doesn't speak from what has impressed upon him in his soul. You say hello, he say hello. Hello, hello. Goodbye, goodbye. How are you? How are you? That's a parrot. He's not speaking. The parrot doesn't speak from something that has an impression upon his soul. He's just mimicking. So the people come to us. Just come to us and look at us. And they'll say to us, you can't read. We'll write you off. You can't read the Qur'an and allow the Qur'an to have an impression upon you. You can't listen to the Imam and allow the Imam to have an impression upon you. Then you begin to express yourself from that expression. So when this happens, and this has happened, I'm going to prove my point now. This has happened because now, you listen to me, Salim MuMin today. I'm not boasting. I'm not expect by that. I'm being analytical, critical thinking, with Qur'an backing up my critical thinking. Is that when you listen to Salim MuMin, you can read what I write, you can hear what I say, and you're going to see in the logic, in the end, the final logic that I'm going to write, you have to say, he has either followed Imam W. Muhammad or he's been influenced by him. That he has been touched in his soul by him, because I can tell from the logic and how he speaks from the Qur'an with the logic, he has been impressed by him. But when you listen to Yahya Abdullah, Imam Yahya Abdullah, you will listen to him, you will say, you have to say it, you have to declare, yes, Imam W. Muhammad has impressed him. He has had a strong impression upon him, and when he speaks, we can tell that he speaks from the impression that has been placed on his soul, but he expressed the way he expresses, and him and Salim don't express the same way. That tells you we're not parrots. Then you go to see Imam Fahim Shuaib. All these online now. They're all online. Go check. Go do your homework and check. So you look at Imam Fahim Shuaib, and I'll say, yes. He has been impressed by Imam W. Muhammad. He left an impression upon his soul, and he speaks from that impression, but he doesn't sound like Imam Yahya or Imam Salim. Because what? We're not parrots. And then you go to Imam Abdul Alim Muhammad out of Philadelphia. And he teaches the class, and he's been impressed, the same as all of us have been impressed. But when he speaks, he doesn't sound like Salim, he doesn't sound like Imam Fahim, doesn't sound like Imam Yahya, but we've all been impressed by Imam W. Muhammad from this Qur'an, and we are not the same, we're not robots, we're not parrots, but we're strong, we have strong sentiments because of the impression that has been placed on our soul. We have very strong sentiments that hold us together as a brotherhood without a name for the brotherhood. We don't need a name for the brotherhood. We know each other by the marks that have been impressed upon our soul. And we work together. Yes. That's the beauty. That's the beauty. We were told from the beginning, don't be parrots. Don't be parrots. Take it and put it in your own words that you understand, and you add to it. But the logic is the same. Yes. Because why? We're team. We're made from team. We're coming from team, not fire. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Now, I would put a plug here, but some of you might think, no, that wouldn't be right. That's the truth. What I'm saying to you is a true fact. Go check it out. Go check it out, and you will see. Then you go check out another group. They sound like parrots. They sound like robots. With a planned response. We're robots before. You ask me a question, I give you the same answer, the same response, the same, just like parrots. No, we shouldn't be parrots. Okay, now, I'm saying a lot here. Would you make, what I'm saying is, I'm going to create a Khalifa. Would you create someone that's going to tell all the secrets? He going to shed the blood is telling the secrets. You going to make somebody go tell all the secrets. Okay, I'm loving this. I'm taking time. I'm keeping you up. Some of you all up late. Keeping myself up. The NBA is on a break this week. I don't think there are any games going on. They're on an all-star break or something. So I ain't got nothing else to do. My number is still up. Still listening. Okay, let's go to the next part. Let's see. Where's my next part at? Let's see now. Okay, here we are here. Now, we go to the next part. I shouldn't have to read English to you, but I will. I'll read this. We'll read through it. Now, this is coming. These are notes. Understand this. This is not published. What we would call published material of Imam W.D. Muhammad. I'm going to say it like this. These are notes, and I took them as notes from a speech of W.D. Muhammad. If you want to read published material from W.D. Muhammad, then look up Imam Ronald Shaheed, another one who has been impressed, but his work and his expressions are different. That he has written books that are published, and they are published works, but these are notes from speeches. I just want to say that to our audience. They're notes from speeches. So we're taking from the notes from a speech that was made, meaning that it hasn't been edited and published. Okay? It's just notes. And it's good to have speeches from the Imam in the exact way that he gave it. Now, this is not all exact because I took some things out and put some things. I haven't edited. I'm not giving you everything of the speech. But it's good to keep everything. I'm saying this for many of us. To keep the speeches in the exact way that he gave it. Then you have to keep that. Then there are writings that are from the speeches, conversations and things you would put and publish, like Imam Ronald Shaheed is doing. That's good. Because when we go to the speeches, we want to see everything about the man. In the future, we want to study the man, and people study the man now. So we keep everything. If we have tapes, and he's speaking on tapes since the mid-70s until 2008, if we keep those tapes and don't clean them, don't take out the static, don't take out the background, don't take out the baby crying, don't take out the people hollering, that's right, because all of that on that tape is they're historical archives. They're historical, what do you call it when people go and they want to study everything about the people? I can't see you now. Anthropologists. They call it anthropologists. There are historical artifacts, facts, that's given you about the man. So his idiosyncrasies and when he makes speeches, how he digresses. Sometimes he'll digress, and then he'll digress upon a digression, and he may not come back until he does another speech somewhere else. You got to put it together, you know. But you hear in the early 70s, in the mid-70s, when he first becomes a leader, you hear people, that's right, go ahead, brother, man, talk. You hear all of that. And then later on, you don't hear anything. So you could listen to the recordings and see the actual what do you call it? Transformation. You could begin to see the transformation of the people just by listening to the recordings and listening to the noise in the background from the people. You could see the transformation taking place. Then, if you study the people in their pictures, you start looking at pictures of the dress of the people in the mid-70s, and you can see a transformation in the way the people dress who follow this man. And you'll begin to see people who are dressed neat, who are dressed clean, but you won't find a peacock amongst them. But it's in the mid-70s, you'll find the peacock. I'm sure you all know what a peacock and a nightingale. And boastful talk, boastful thinking. You'll find all of that in the mid-70s. Being very boastful. Comes back in 2008. He destroyed. No, a transformation has taken place in the people. And you start finding people talking with an independent voice, though they're a student of his, being impressed by him, but not mimicking and mocking him. And who can stand on their own and be responsible for what they're carrying in their head. So it's important, because this has to be studied. And students have to be studied. Because you have to see what happened. What did he do? See, it's a lot that has to be studied. Some of y'all only study money. Just money. No, it's a lot that has to be studied. Because it's influence. It's influence, this impression that we're carrying on our soul and articulating and expressing. Impression and expression. We have an impression that we're expressing that's going to reach the corners of the world and bring about a reformation in religion. Okay, let's go to the last part. So here's Imam. I say all that to say, here is Imam W.D. Muhammad. The prophet, peace be upon him, was shown that before Satan came into the picture, the earth was safe and good for his human creatures or his ibad. Now we can make a reference to the tafsir. We said he was Sakan, another artist. Sakan means peaceful, meaning it was peaceful. It was peaceful in the earth. So this is where we could connect this first sentence with what we read in the tafsir. Sakin or Sakanin meaning he lives peacefully in the earth. Even Iblis was living peaceful. Everything was peaceful. So Satan did not form until man was given charge as Khalifa. This Khalifa is the one who will be the responsible leader in the earth. This is a Khalifa. He was peaceful and satisfied among the angels as their leader. But the instant that God let the news out to the angels that he was going to make a human being a human being, a mortal flesh and blood person, a man, Khalifa in the earth, Satan rebelled against that. This Satan is Iblis. Rebelled against it. It is said in the Qur'an, Ada wastakbara. Translated, he refused and became bigoted. See the word big and istakbara, bigoted, self-important. This is the idea he's given. So this first paragraph is similar to what we're reading. Now he's going to, in his speech, even though his speech is not so much about that story, he's not giving the whole story, but he's giving us that because this is now what I'm doing now. I'm looking at Imam W.D. Muhammad, studying Imam W.D. Muhammad, and see how and what he's doing here to put the idea together that I'm doing. So I'm doing this independently now, not to be a parrot, but to be analytical and see how he's doing it. So now it says the important thing is how you disposition yourself. These are his words. What does Salat start with? Iqama. Iqama means to stand erect, which is standing up erect. That's what he's saying. That's what Iqama. Now, what does this have to do with Iblis? So many people get lost right away. They get lost in the connection between what we're talking about Salat and standing erect now, and now we're talking about Iblis. We're talking about Iblis and Adam. But let's go on and see. So we take that position. First, before even beginning reading or reciting the words of Allah. Now, this is the point I highlighted here. Let me read it and then I'll come back to it. What does that position say? I am perfectly attentive. I am perfectly attentive. Because when people are perfectly attentive, when people are not perfectly attentive, their mind strays. They call it now AD. They can't focus. But the more they are aware that what they are saying is of great importance to them. They stop straying and they ask, what did you say? What was that again, man? He stands up, doesn't he? It is your nature to do that when your interest is strong and you are hearing something that is of vital importance. So maybe I should highlight that. He stands up, it says, it is your nature. It is your nature that when your interest is strong and you are hearing something that is of vital importance, you stand straight up. How? In your nature. If you are lying down, you want to get up on your feet, don't you? God knows what he created. He knows the nature of the creature he created, so he gives him a religion that suits his best nature. So we begin the prayer standing up straight. Now, just this part. So I'm taking here, from this part here, that to say that first, you have to stand erect, straight. You have to come straight. So I've been given this this theme for the last month or so, being erect, standing erect, with words like uswa. Uswa, when I have proportioned him. Uswa, salat, the path, straight up salat, and I put alif between their hearts. Aleph, the aleph, stand straight up. So these ideas. So that's how you start in the prayer. You start straight up. And this is how you have to be in your nature before you start reading Qur'an, before you start reciting the Qur'an. You have to be straight first in your nature. Before you go to school, before you send your children to the school to be educated, before you go down into the earth and sajda, before you do all of that, wait until I have stand him up straight in his nature and I have inspired him, then you bow down to him. But before you, man, goes into the earth and get the great resources out of the earth, you have to come from a position that's straight up in your nature. Yes. So this he's standing straight. Iblis. He refused. So this is what you have to have. This man that God is making. This is Adam. This is what he has done with Adam. And after he had inspired him, what? There are a lot of signs in the Salat. I'm just giving one of them. There are many signs. There's many signs in the rituals. Many. Because they hold so much. So I'm not giving you the whole sign. I'm just giving you a part of the sign. I'm taking it from here. So you have to be perfectly attentive. Perfectly attentive. Then it is your nature to do that when your interest is strong. When you have the strong interest. This I'm taking from there. Now I'm taking this idea. Look at the idea here I'm discussing. And I'm taking ideas from the tafsir, and I'm taking ideas from the Qur'an bil Qur'an, and in conclusion, just taking these ideas and looking at these ideas in terms of the verse. Then I write a reflection, and then I write the comment. The reflection is, I'm writing a reflection based upon Qur'an bil Qur'an and some of the tafsir. This is the tafsir of the Imam making comments on it, and the tafsir of the other tafsir, Ibn Kathir. I should have said something about Ibn Kathir while we use it, maybe another day. So in the reflection now, it's not a translation, it's a reflection. So in the reflection of the verse, I take and I put it together, and the method. Let me go back and show you the method that I'm using, because that's important also, to show you the method. Let's see. So we go here. What I'm doing is I'm taking the words here. So I'm taking the meaning of these words that he has given, and I'm using these words here, and I use these words here and the words here. So I'm using these words in my reflection instead of giving a word-to-word translation. Then, when I go to the Qur'an bil Qur'an, let's see, the Qur'an bil Qur'an. That was it is the Qur'an bil Qur'an. So in the Qur'an bil Qur'an now, I'm taking the words here and using them, creating a statement of phrases instead of the word istasbara. This is what I'm doing with Qur'an bil Qur'an. So I'm taking all of this now, I'm putting it all together to write the reflection. So now let's go and to write the reflection on the verse. So I'm writing, and when we said to the angels, perform, I use the word perform your acts of belief and worship instead of usjudu. I put perform your acts of belief and worship that lead to goodness and success in honor of Adam. Ushuduli Adam, in honor of Adam. Thus, they put their forehead on the earth except Iblis. So they put their forehead on the earth instead of saying they made sajda. It's wordy, but it's reflection. Except Iblis, he refused and arrogantly, without truth, disbelieved that he could return to Allah. And this idea is that through his knowledge of science, through the knowledge of science that he had, that his science will lead him back to Allah. That this man that Allah has inspired and honored is not qualified. He was from those who denied the presence of Allah in their scientific findings. This is Iblis. The Iblis mentality, those who deny the presence of Allah in their scientific findings. They even give credit to themselves, to their own intellect. They won't give credit to Allah. So that's the reflection. And when we said to the angels, perform your acts of belief and worship that leads to goodness and success in honor of Adam. Thus they put their forehead on the earth except Iblis. He refused and arrogantly, without truth, disbelieved that he could return to Allah. He was from those who denied the presence of Allah in their scientific findings. That's the verse. The comment I'm making now, you will see from the comment, very concise comment. I do this every morning. I will show you. Very, very concise. Before you seek to acquire knowledge and science, especially in the secular realm, with the application of critical thinking, you must be obedient, morally and ethically upright in your nature to maintain the spiritual balance while being perfectly attentive to listening, learning, and comprehending the Qur'an. That's a concise comment that I'm taking from all of the sources. Not only will it support you in your stance, but also lead you to greater knowledge and scientific findings. So that would be the comment that I'm making on the verse, by taking it from the various sources and looking at the verse itself. That's the reflection and the comment on the verse. So what I'm doing every morning, in the evening and the morning, I do it fast. I go and I make it a verse. And then I use these same sources. I go through it real fast with the same sources. I do it in the evening. I get the sources and get a verse, go through the same sources that I just showed you. I can add another source, a Rumi. If I want to make things a little more poetic, I may go and use Rumi, as a source. And then I could grab other sources. But mainly because I do it every day, every morning, it's basically the same sources I just showed you and the same process. I do it in the evening, then I get up in the morning, and I reflect upon all the sources and what I got from the sources. It doesn't take me long now because I can read the sources. I reflect upon the sources in the morning for about an hour or so, a little more than an hour. Just sit back and reflect. And sometimes I sleep on it, and I'm thinking while I'm sleeping. Then I take it and put it in a concise statement that when you read it now, because when you take something and you want your audience to read it, I have to put the stream. You can see here how you can see where I took from the Imam. You can see Imam W.D. Muhammad in this. You can see Ibn Arabi in this with critical thinking and so forth and so on. And some of my own words I put in this, you can see a little bit of everybody in it. But I have to make sure I stream something in it from Imam W. Muhammad, because the language of W. Muhammad is what ties us and holds us together. So I have to show that, and that gives you, the reader, the prior text, we call it. You have to have a prior text. Whenever you are creating mythology, and whenever you are interpreting the mythology, you want to use a language that the people can identify with. That's how you can hold them. That's what holds us together. Those are the sentiments that we have amongst each other, is that we're followers of Imam W. Muhammad. So he has made an impression upon me in my soul as well as in my expression. So I have to use words from him intentionally so I can hold the audience while I'm doing my personal reflection based upon other sources also. So I'm following his instruction. Read it yourself first. Read the Qur'an yourself first. Learn how to read it grammatically with the meaning of look at meaning of the words, Arabic with Arabic and what have you. Read it for yourself first. Don't look to see what someone else said. Read it yourself first. Then look and see what Ibn Arabi said. Then look and see what Ibn Kathir said. These are some of the sources that I may use. Look and see what they say, just on a verse. Then look and see what the Imam says on the verse. Then write. Then I have to write a concise statement like here, using the sources, but intentionally keeping the Imam's comments, the Imam's wording, so that I can connect with my brothers and sisters who also have been impressed by the Imam. This is how I do it every morning. It may appear a lot, but for me, I can do it quick. I can do it fast, and I sit back and I write my reflection. Now, so that I'm sharing this with you, so I'm not doing this in vain, then I'm practicing and preparing to write translation, but a reflection. Now, a reflection and a commentary on the Qur'an based upon or as being a student of Imam W. Muhammad. So that's why I have to stick with it, and do what I'm doing, show you what I'm doing. And the idea of being a student is still present in the writing and in the logic in particular. This is the idea. This is the idea, and this is the foundation of MALI, Muslim American Logic Institute. We have other students that are doing this also. They're at this level now. They're writing reflections and they're writing comments based upon the reflections. We have students that are doing this. So I'm showing you all the sources, the process, so that you don't need to come to me and say you're not supposed to be doing that. I can back it up and show you, like I'm showing you tonight. I thank you for taking the time tonight. We took a little time tonight to go through the whole process. The process, showing you the full process to come to the conclusion of writing a real concise statement or comment on the verse. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum.